seems, these days we can't escape fake news. We all know that our social media feeds are full of news articles and stories that are biased, exaggerated, or just plain fabricated. So how come so many of us continue to consume and share content without questioning its credibility? These stories may start on Facebook or Twitter, but once we share them, they eventually work their way into articles in the mainstream media. And these articles are then shared again on social media. And so the endless cycle continues. Is there a way that this flood of fake news can be stopped? Or can we all become better at identifying and simply ignoring it? In recent years, these questions have become an important field of research.
My name is John Rosenbeek. I'm a PhD candidate at Cambridge University, and I mainly study fake news and disinformation. Fake news is a difficult term because everyone is using it, and it's used in a lot of different contexts and by a lot of different people with a lot of different agendas and ideas and political convictions and so on. And it doesn't mean the same thing when two different people say it. So that is why I just myself prefer the term disinformation, which is much more clear. Misinformation is information that is false, and that includes simple human error. If I make a mistake and I say something that is incorrect and I publish it somewhere online, that is what I would call misinformation. Disinformation includes the intent to deceive, so I must actually want to give you wrong information for it to be disinformation.
So are there things that can be done to stop the flow of disinformation? John believes that there are 4 possible solutions.
The first is legislation, so trying to write laws that regulate the flow of information in such a way that fake news becomes less prevalent. The downside of this is, of course, that you run into issues of freedom of the press very quickly.
Freedom of the press is the principle that government shouldn't interfere with or censor the media.
The second one is algorithmic fixes.
All social media sites use algorithms to choose the information they present to their users. This is the programming code that decides what content to show you based on what you like and share.
So, for example, on Facebook, you will see certain posts before other posts, and Facebook can decide which posts you see first. So in that way, you can have Facebook tweak the algorithm in such a way that fake news becomes less visible. The downside, of course, is that Facebook then decides what it wants you to see, which is not great. The third category is fact-checking, meaning correcting false stories, which is a good initiative, and for sure that is something that needs to be done. The problem is that you're always going to be behind, simply because it is much harder to fact-check something than it is to create and spread a lie. And the fourth category is education, or what you would call media literacy, which focuses on the individual level, meaning making people more resilient against deception, against manipulation, against disinformation. The upside is that this has a potential of being very effective, and you don't run into issues of freedom of the press. The downside is that it's very expensive and that it's difficult to implement in many countries.